What's going on, my fellow fuzzbutts? Zabu the Sergal here, and I'm back with another video just to educate my people. But of course, I'm not alone. We've also got another special guest on the channel. Say hi!
What up? I'm Octoplanet.
Yeah, that's right. We're in the deal with Octoplanet, and today's topic, we're going to be talking about fursuiting at anime conventions. Or,
yes, we are.
Well, just fursuiting at conventions as a whole, whether it's an anime convention, an actual fursuiting convention, or just, you know, conventions in general. Alright, so the first topic will be what not to do when you see a fursuiter at a convention.
Oh, my favorite.
So, like I say, I have very little experience with, you know, fursuiting at an anime convention because I haven't had Zabu for very long, but when I did, I only went to one convention. It was an anime convention, and I only wore Zabu for maybe about an hour total. But Octoplanet here, she's been to multiple conventions several times, so she'll be able to give a little more in-depth, you know, explanation as to the don'ts of approaching fursuiters. Octoplanet?
Yes, okay, so, well, I mean, the best place to start is the don'ts. I mean, everyone knows, like, the basics of what you can do, but don't, obviously, this is, like, when you're first approaching your suitor, don't immediately sprint all out and glomp them. It's a bad idea. First off, the suits are expensive, and if anything gets damaged, you should be the one paying for it, not the suitor.
Absolutely. I have some pretty good experience with this, and not in fursuiting, but with cosplay, because, you know, my name is Zabu, so back in the day, I used to just cosplay this character Zabuza from Naruto. And so Zabuza, he's known for this very long and large sword that he carries. And so, this random cosplayer decides that she wants to run up to me and just give me the biggest glomp that she can. But little did she realize that I was carrying this on my shoulder, and she glomped me from behind. So as soon as that happened, I dropped the sword, and it like clocked her in the side of the head.
No.
And of course, she tried to say that that was my fault, that, you know, I willingly dropped the sword. But I'm like, no, I was just walking by, minding my own business, and you decide to run up to me and just, like, tackle me. I'm barely holding the sword because it's freaking heavy. And so she got hit by it, and then she wants to blame me for it. I'm like, no, 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 no. You overstep the boundaries of the respect for another person. If you want to hug somebody, please, by all means, ask. Because if not, you can get hurt, or you can hurt the person you're hugging. Always be mindful. What if I had back problems? You wouldn't have known that because you just freaking jumped on me.
True, and I have a very similar story. I was at Anime's Minicon that both me and Zabu go to, and this year I was sitting on a little pillar and minding my own business, waiting for one of my friends to arrive, and out of nowhere, I just hear this girl, and she just screams, "America!" because I was cosplaying Hitalia at the time. And as I'm sitting on this pillar, everything beneath me is concrete, so she just runs and hits me. Like, she was trying to hug me, but she pushed me off of the pillar, and I had scrapes all the way down my legs. And I was freaking out. I'm not the best, like, fan of blood, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, I'm bleeding, and, like, this random person just, like, tackled me, and I like, was this a good thing or a bad thing? Like, I'm freaking out. And you can scare people by that. Like, if a fursuiter gets knocked down, they don't know if, like, something bad is happening, because their vision is limited. They don't know if, like, someone is, like, attacking you, like an actual attack, or if it's just like a friendly hug. You don't know. Exactly, and that's another thing that people don't consider, is that when you're wearing a fursuit, you're pretty much looking out of a pair of binoculars the entire time. The only direction that you can see is, like, directly in front of you. And that's a really great point, and I've got Creature here with me on my side, and his vision is extremely limited because of the mesh that I used, because he doesn't have resin eyes. He is a resin blank, but doesn't have resin eyes, so I had to use an even darker mesh so people couldn't see through and look at me. And so that has limited my vision extremely, and people don't understand that when you walk up to this, like, this animal or whatever while you're at a convention that it's the exact same as a costume. You're wearing a mask and you can't see, so anything approaching you, you either have to, you have the fight or flight. Like, you're like, oh, is this thing like coming at me and being vicious, or is it coming at me and being happy? Like, we don't know.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing, like reflexes can come into play, because typically, if you randomly run up on somebody, their first reaction could be just like, you know, what you doing? And yeah, you might catch a chop or a fist or two, you know? So always be mindful of that. Always, just whenever you approach the person, make your presence known and always ask. That is like the most important thing. Ask, ask, ask. Ask!
Ask!
And of course, this doesn't limit, you know, as to where you can wear your fursuit. You can wear your fursuit whenever, like, wherever you want to. It's just that when it comes to interacting with another fursuiter, always be mindful of, you know, the, I guess you could say, like, the artistic creation that is the fursuit. And it goes the same with cosplays. You know, some cosplays are simple and other cosplays are very detailed. If you approach these people in the wrong way, you could damage these things. And a lot of time and money goes into making and maintaining these things. So always be mindful of that. So if you do break it, you buy it.
You done wrecked it, man.
Oh man, oh man, oh man.
But yeah, it's a great comparison to have cosplay and fursuiting right next to each other. People don't really understand it. They're like, oh, well, this is just like a mascot, right? No, it's a representation of yourself, but also it's this really big, expensive costume, and you either have spent hours and hours yourself making it, or you've spent lots and lots of money getting this made from someone else. And, well, either way, it's lots and lots of money, but getting it made from someone else and commissioning it, you have, like, waited all this time, and then you finally have this beautiful product, and if it gets damaged, especially by someone else, you have this, like, nerve out. Like, I had one of my eyes on my previous suit. It was a foam eye, and someone had just it was one of my friends, just kind of came over and tried to hug me, but her paw was a bit too high, and it just punctured right through the eye, and it could have potentially injured me, but I was more worried about the suit itself, because I had to send it, this suit had come from Australia. I had to send it all the way back to Australia to get fixed and maintenance.
Oh my
and
God.
I had to pay for the shipping, and it was a long hassle, because I had just gotten this suit, and now I have to wait longer for it to get even, like, back to me.
God, that's freaking terrible.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
of course, that's one of the things that, you know, you just kind of have to embrace the fact that, you know, some people, they just won't be mindful of their surroundings, and they have no problem with just running up to you and just freaking tackling you or something. And if they break something, they're like, oh my God, then that's not my fault. It must have been your fault. You must have did this and caused it to break, la 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 la, and then they run on about their business. And of course, things like these, they can really ruin someone's con experience, and that's what we do not want at all. Because in addition to these suits that we wear that are expensive, going to these conventions are also expensive. Take into account that a lot of people go out of state to conventions and places like that, so there's a lot of money that goes into the presentation of what we do, whether it's fursuiting or cosplaying or anything like that. So just always be mindful.
Yes, always be mindful. I'll go to anime conventions, and you have to be extremely careful with anime conventions, because they're not quite laid out as one, like, a fursuit convention. I've gone to FWA, and it's a very big open floor because they know that these big costumes are coming in. But with anime conventions, they have more cramped hallways where they have artist tables and dealer tables all in the same hallway, and you have to kind of go through with a bunch of cosplayers and people taking pictures and people stopping in the middle of the hallways. You have to be extremely careful if you have like a long dragging tail like Zabu does. You have to be extremely careful with people stepping on it or stepping on your paws or just being like bumped into and like roughed up. If you have a full suit, you can have like stains on your suit. Like Homestuck cosplayers have like full body paint. You don't want body paint on a fursuit.
Good God. Of course, anyone who goes to conventions, we know about the story of the Homestuck paints getting all over the place. And one thing that I can't comprehend is if a Homestuck cosplayer with their paint unsealed runs up to a fursuiter wearing a bodysuit and they just hug them and get that paint all over their suit.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't know whether to be devastated or just full of rage. I would probably, oh man, I don't even want to think about it because that would just, ah!
Yes, I mean, on one side I'm like, oh yeah, Homestuck cosplayers are generally really great people, and we've both been Homestucks before. And on the other side, we also have, if you're going to be wearing a full body paint or you're going to be wearing a part of a suit that, or part of a cosplay that is unfinished and still has a bit of wet paint on it, definitely don't go up and hug somebody. Or if you do, then kind of like make an air hug and don't like fully rub your skin on them. Like don't get all up close and personal.
Oh. Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and another thing, that if you are going to be fursuiting at primarily an anime convention, because they do have those tight spaces, always be mindful of your surroundings as well. Because with a limited vision, you don't really know what's actually around you, and you know, you can bump into things or hit things and fall over and hurt yourself and explode, so always be mindful.
Yes, I also want to, like, on exactly that topic, you don't want to go to an anime convention without a handler. I've been to a few conventions and it was absolute hell. People would come up to me and try to talk to me and ask questions, and I used to be a suitor that wouldn't talk at all. Like I had previous suits where, like Melty Pop and Kawa, I wouldn't talk at all. I'd be completely silent and people would try to come and ask me questions, and I would try to like keep my character, but I didn't want to just ignore these people. Like I didn't want them to think that I was being rude. So as soon as that happened, I got myself a handler, and he was just one of my best friends, Kate. We went through hand signals like you need water or you need like it's getting hot. I mean, very easy hand signals that like anyone could understand. And it's very vital that you go through all of that stuff beforehand, and you don't have to just make it up on the fly, or you have to like hurry your handler, like, come here, I need to tell you something. It kind of breaks the magic, and people are like, oh well, they're like in character, but they're just like talking to someone else, so it's not super in character. People get very judgmental, and I've learned that from many years of anime conventions, or people are very judgmental at anime cons, more so than furry conventions, because at furry conventions we're all the exact same. Like, sure, we're all different in some ways, but we're the same. We have the same fandom. And at conventions, people are like judging you all the time.
That is another very important thing. It's like, you know, at fursuiting at a furry convention, it's a lot more humble because we're all on the same page. If you're at a furry convention, it is because you're a furry. But when it comes to anime conventions, those cater to a wide variety of fandoms. Some fandoms that aren't even anime. So when it comes to fursuiting at an anime convention, you gotta be really selective about who you interact and communicate with, because as we know, there are more people that don't like the furry fandom than there are that do like it.
Yes.
And so, you know, as unfortunate as that is, we also have to be mindful of that as well. But of course, this shouldn't determine whether or not you cosplay at an anime convention. If you're going to an anime convention and you have a fursuit and you want to wear it, by all means, go ahead and wear it. Like I say in my previous videos, don't let anyone tell you how to run your life. If you want to do something, by all means, do it. Hold fast to your decisions. Always.
Yes, and that is a great point. Like, people have come up to me in suit, and this isn't even, like, this has happened a few times at conventions, but people in general, like, if you're just suiting at the mall or something, or maybe not the mall, that's against the rules, but if you're suiting at a park or something, people will come up to me and they'll be like, they don't really understand it, or they've heard it on, like, the CSI and Dr. Phil, and they've heard all of the bad things. And they'll come up to me and they'll actually genuinely ask me questions about, like, what it is and if I actually partake in such activities, and I'm like, no, well, let me explain, like, this is my character I've made, and I've commissioned this suit, and it costs, like, blah, 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 and they genuinely start to understand, and that's what people want to do. People don't, well, generally, people don't want to, like, go out of their way to be super, super angry and be like, oh, it's one of those furries, those disgusting trash, and blah, blah, blah. They generally want to understand, like, want to have your view of it instead of just, like, be closed-minded about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. So yeah, just...
It's so heated.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, before we, you know, go in too much detail about it, just 10 out of 10, just be mindful of your surroundings, whether it be people or objects or just things as a whole. Always be mindful. Alright, so with that being said, I think it's time that we go ahead and close this. If you want to follow me for fast updates, I'll have links to my Furfinity as well as Octoplanet's Furfinity posted down in the description below. Viewer discretion is advised because there may be content on that site not suitable for all ages. I also have links to my Facebook, Twitter, and my Instagram posted down there below. I may even link...
follow!
Yeah, I may even link Octoplanet's Instagram if she wants it to be linked. Do you?
Probably my Twitter, not my Instagram.
Okay, I'll link her Twitter. But, as always, my name is Zabu the Sergal, along with...
Octoplanet!
And we're out of here!